Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I'm Cipher, and this is the Devil's Advocate Debate Club. On this channel, I make it my job to find ideas with popular support and argue against them, regardless of my personal position. So this month brings me back to a question I was first asked in high school. Is Black History Month racist? Since the popular opinion would be no, I'll be laying out the argument that it is. These days, there are competing definitions of racism. The classic definition would be to judge a race as being superior or inferior to another based on the color of their skin or other racial features. Gender studies programs in universities across the country and world have put forward the definition to discriminate against a member of another racial group from a place of racial oppression. It will be my proposition that Black History Month is racist by either standard. Really, the racism is right there in the name. Black History Month. What is Black history? There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different cultures around the world, rich cultures, which are mostly or even completely black, many of which have nothing else in common with each other than skin color. Lumping them all together under the title of Black history is reductionist to an extreme degree. It assumes black people whose ancestors never shared a culture or even shared a landmass have similarities with each other because of the color of their skin. This is a good way to mark them as different or to place them in an other group. Now, or to non-black communities. Given that many studies have shown creating an outside group will create superiority among the preferred group and resentment in the othered group, this does little but breed racism by the first definition I gave, and since Black History Month is most widely celebrated in America, the majority of those who profit off of it are white business owners in a position of financial power in comparison to the average black American, thus fitting our second definition as well. However, not everyone sees Black History Month as a celebration of worldwide black culture. Some argue Black History Month is just for black Americans, that it started to celebrate the culture of freed slaves in America who had been forcefully separated from their respective cultures. However, the cultural name for a freed slave is freedman, or perhaps freed person with these days. Now, not all black people in America are descendants of slaves. In fact, some are even descendants of African slavers who sold Europeans the slaves to begin with. If it really is a celebration of freed slaves in America and the culture that they've created, then calling Freed Person History Month Black History Month is lumping the culture we're celebrating in with some of their oppressors. It's once again reducing diverse peoples and cultures to the color of their skin. Once again, it fits either of our definitions of racism. But okay, I can already hear some of you saying, but Lewis, that's not what Black History Month means to me. It's a way to speak out against a European tradition of colonial history, claiming historically black achievements as their own. This is something many different cultures have done to each other throughout history, though. I would have no argument against Historical Accuracy Month, one where we reflect on the ways in which different cultures have destroyed each other's heritage throughout the years, and see what can be done to recover it for all peoples of the world. But, a month dedicating to proving and proofing history for everyone is very different. And in this case, calling it Black History Month isn't only reductionist, it's exclusionary. And exclusionary in a world of growing inclusion, where it's becoming more and more important that we accept one another. Now, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned I'd first been asked this question in high school. I bring that up because when I was in high school, there was a group of students who protested Black History Month. And while many people got angry with them, I took the time to get to know why. As it turns out, the little sister of one of the girls in the group had come home one day from, I forget if it was preschool or kindergarten, and said, "Mommy, what's a black kid?" Now, I've talked to the black kid's parents, the teacher, the students who were protesting Black History Month, and the parents of the little girl. I have most of the details of this story. What had happened is, this young Black American had come into school on Black History Month knowing basically nothing of his history or culture as a black person. He had always simply considered himself to be an American, as that's how his family had raised him. They had steeped him in American culture, but not taught him much about any black history he might have had. They were descendants of immigrants from Europe, not slaves, and so he wasn't a part of the slave culture that many Americans connect to Black History Month. His teacher asked him to go up and do a presentation on his black culture, and the kid didn't have much more to say other than, "I'm an American and I happen to be black." But for the rest of the students in the class, it was the first time they had ever looked at him other than just another little boy. For the little girl whose family I spoke to, it was the first time that she'd seen him as a black kid, and not just a kid. Now, her parents explained to her that black people are just like everyone else, did their best to explain to their kindergartner at best that it's just melanin, but it was a very confusing moment for her, and one that wouldn't have been necessary if this teacher had taken the time to get to know the actual culture of the family in question, or if we didn't celebrate history based on the color of people's skin. So, you see, it was the first time that she'd looked at him for any differently for being black, but thanks to her parents, it was hopefully the last. Morgan Freeman once said, "Black History Month is ridiculous," and said, I quote, "I don't want Black History Month. Black history is American history." So, if you're trying not to judge others based on qualities that are literally skin deep, celebrate Historical Accuracy Month to keep our cultures honest, or Genetic or Racial Diversity Month to keep it varied. Celebrate Freed Person History Month to keep their impact on our culture from being ignored, or even Freeman History Month, where we spend all October celebrating the life of Morgan Freeman. But unless you have a definition that isn't based on racial oppression, reductionism, and exclusivity, maybe give a second thought before the next time you post Happy Black History Month on whatever social media you use. But be sure to let me know what you think. Do you have a definition of Black History Month that doesn't fit one or both definitions of racism? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Now, I do continuously forget to remind you, so perhaps it's not your fault, but you humans do so need to be reminded to like and subscribe. Please do so. I'd like to keep the channel growing. As always, I'm your host, Cipher, and thank you for watching the Devil's Advocate Debate Club.